Oi. So it's about that time.
About that time.
For the first episode of Feelin Like.
First episode of Feelin Like.
So what anime's up first?
それは難しいですね。I think I'm just a thing. Jibun wo.
Nah. Jibun wo.
Jibun wo. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to our debut video for our Feelin Like series.
Now, as we mentioned in previous videos, the Feelin Like series is one of the first original ideas we had for this channel. And to make it easier for us, we decided to start with our first favorite animes for the first few videos of this series. So for this first episode, we're going to start with my favorite anime, Code Geass.
Now, how this video series is going to work, we're going to break down each anime into 4 separate parts. Now, starting with the very first part, we're going to talk about what genres we consider the anime to be. In the second part, we're going to give you a very short summary of the anime. In the third part, we're going to give you a teaser to the anime itself. And in the very last and final part, we're going to talk about the good,
the bad,
and what we like about the anime.
Now for the last part, it can be short or long, depends on how much we got to say about the anime. So at any point of the time, if this anime that we're talking about in any of these videos interests you, then just feel free to stop the video where you're at and go watch it. And if it didn't catch your attention at any point in time, then hopefully next time.
And with that, let's get into it with our very first part, genres.
Now the main genre we consider Code Geass to be, as you can see here, a robot. Here, a robot, and everywhere, robots. So, Mecha.
Now, the subgenres for Code Geass include sci-fi, supernatural, military, tragedy, romance, drama, and action. Now, there is a little bit of nudity in Code Geass, specifically episodes 3 and episodes 12, so just watch out for that. There is a lot of killing in Code Geass, but mainly most of it is going to be kind of like off camera. But, you know, it is there, so TV 14 at best.
Part numero dos, the short summary. Now in this story, we have an exiled prince by the name of Lelouch, who meets a mysterious girl named C2, who gives him an optical power called Geass, in which he can use it to make a person do anything he wants just once. Now he uses that power and his smarts to get revenge on the empire that exiled him and possibly murdered his mother. But mainly, he's out for his father.
So basically, daddy issues. Now into part number 3, the teaser. Take it away, JT.
Right. So, in a world.
Nope, we're not doing that.
Fine. Now for this teaser, I'm just gonna give a quick summary of episode 1 because I thought the episode was pretty lit. The episode begins with our boy Lelouch going back to school after some illegal gambling. And then all of a sudden, Truck-kun pulls up from behind him. And if you know anime, you know Truck-kun. And when Truck-kun is involved, it usually doesn't end well for a character. But in this case, Truck-kun actually steers off to the side and crashes into a working site. So our boy Lelouch goes and checks to see if the people that were in that accident are okay. And while he's doing that, he was climbing up the container. But then all of a sudden, the truck starts moving, so he falls into the container. And when he falls in there, he sees this giant pod. And all of a sudden, a loudspeaker sounds from the outside, and it's the military telling the truck to halt. So then he's all like, oh, this might not be good people. And all of a sudden, a door inside the container opens, and a girl walks out. So Lelouch hides. Then he can't quite put his finger on it, but he feels like he recognizes the girl. And then she gets in a robot, unlike Shinji, and then she launches out of the container and fights the military with that robot, which in this anime they're called nightmares. and she distracts the military so the truck can get away, and the truck goes into an underground tunnel where it eventually gets stuck. Now, while all this was going on, a bunch of soldiers were ordered to go and look for this truck, and the soldier happened to be where the truck gets stuck. So the soldier reports in that he found the truck. Then all of a sudden the container door starts opening, and it's our boy Lelouch inside actually climbing this pod trying to get out of the container. Seeing this, the soldier actually dashes towards the truck, and he leaps up and does a spinning roundhouse kick, which our boy Lelouch blocks. And then he gets knocked down by the soldier. They start arguing, and then all of a sudden the soldier recognizes Lelouch and actually calls out his name, which surprises Lelouch. And then the soldier takes out his helmet, and it turns out to be a childhood friend of his called Suzaku Kururugi. Now in the middle of their conversation, the pod begins to open. So Suzaku takes down Lelouch again, but this time he puts a gas mask on him because his superiors told him that the pod contained poison gas. But it turns out that a girl pops out from the pod, not poison gas, which surprises both of them. Soon after, Suzaku's commander reaches them with a lot of backup, and he orders Suzaku to shoot Lelouch. Suzaku refuses, so the commander decides to shoot him instead. And then they approach Lelouch, but before they could do anything, the driver who was driving the truck actually blows up the truck, and it gives Lelouch and the new mysterious girl enough time to escape. But they're caught soon after. And now this time, now that they're caught, the commander does shoot at Lelouch. And before the bullet could reach him, the new mysterious girl jumps in front of the bullet and takes the bullet to the head. And now Lelouch is left all alone with his childhood friend being shot, and this new mysterious girl just protected him and took a bullet to the head for him. And instead of being scared at facing death, he actually gets angry of his own weakness, and he wished he had the power to overturn this situation. Not only that, but the power to change this world. And that's when the girl who just got shot reaches out and grabs him by the wrist. And then they have a mind link of sorts. And in that mind link, she offers him power, the power of a king, if he accepts a contract with her. But she warns him accepting this contract will probably condemn him to a life of solitude. But without thinking twice, Lelouch accepts. And now snap back to reality, he gets up and he looks straight ahead at those soldiers. He provokes them a little and gives one of my favorite lines in all of anime. He tells them, "Those who should kill should be prepared to be killed." And he shows his new power that is in his left eye and uses it, and it's called the Geass. And he orders them all to die. And so they point their guns at each other and shoot. And for a quick second, Lelouch is actually surprised of what he just did, but then he looks straight ahead with a good camera shot of his face, and he gives an evil grin. And this, folks, is where the story truly begins.
And that was it for our teaser for Code Geass. Now moving on to the last and final part, the good, the bad, and what we liked about the anime. And if any of the information before this caught your attention, stop this video and go watch Code Geass. If not, let's move forward, and thank you guys for sticking with us.
So a simple way to put Code Geass is for our Latinos, if you know people that like them novelas, over dramatized stuff, Code Geass is one of those animes. And for everybody else, soap operas. If they like soap operas, and if they like Shakespearean stuff, like in episode 1, when they show Lelouch on the little motorbike or whatever it is, he's reading a book. And if you read closely, I see that it says Hamlet.
It's
Hamlet. It's Hamlet, right?
Hamlet, yeah.
So if you know Shakespearean stuff, then you know Hamlet. Or if you've seen or watched Hamlet. And that's just a very apropos thing to read to set the tone of what you're gonna get with this anime.
So I thought Code Geass was really, really great. It was a really great anime. And I'll just nitpick at little things, right? So in the robots, how they have the little wheelie thingies on their, it reminds me of a mouse ball. I never liked that about the robots. That's one of my very few nitpicky things about it. It's just why do those roll on the thing? It doesn't make any sense, well, at least to me. So that was just my thing. Also, the robots have USBs. That they're like the USB, but I thought they were keys, right? It's you would.
Well, you look closely, it totally looks like USB.
It's a USB, but I was telling JT, I'm like, no, man, those are keys. Those are keys to turn on the robots. But it's no, he says they're USBs, but they do look like USBs. So I was like, what's it? Man, whatever.
The nightmares themselves look pretty dope.
That's true. Well, at least the non-fodder ones. The fodder ones, they look bad. but that's Sunrise for you. They make the main robots always look cool. The main mechas look cool.
Now this series is very long, so pretty much in this video I'm just going to talk about my favorite characters in this anime. Starting with the best boy, the protagonist, Lelouch. Now first of all, I like how dead set this character's goals were. In the first episode of the anime, we have Lelouch has a child with Suzaku, and Lelouch as a child tells Suzaku that one day he would obliterate Britannia. And then skip 10 years later, once he has the Geass power, he does mention that with or without this power of Geass, he was going to take on Britannia somehow. And that pretty much shows that he kept to his word, that he never changed his mind. He is quite the narcissistic character. He does look down on a lot of people, but more often than not, he gets smacked back to reality because he loses quite a bit throughout the anime. He is also quite cold-blooded, especially when it comes to making decisions throughout battles. But cracks begin to show in his strong-willed character when people that he loves start being affected by his rebellion, especially when he actually is forced to kill people that he loves with his own hands because of his actions. And when he's at the point of breaking, when his mind can't take no more, lucky for him, he has strong female characters that have his back that pushes him towards his goal. Now Lelouch is my favorite character of all time and of all animes. Not only because of his character, but because of the journey that this character takes. Now in the beginning of the anime, you could say he starts off as an anti-hero. Then he becomes a tragic hero, and towards the end he becomes the villain. And then at the very end of the anime, he does finish as a hero. Hopefully you also enjoy this character's journey. Next up, the mysterious girl, C2. Not CC, C2. She is the main heroine of the story, and she is immortal, which is why Lelouch often calls her the Immortal Witch, which she accepts because it is fitting to her. And she does support Lelouch throughout his rebellion, but because she's immortal, she's pretty much lost her humanity, so she's very cold and apathetic, especially towards Lelouch. Like when he's losing heart and he's losing his will, C2 is there to support him, but very coldly. Throughout her journey with Lelouch, they do support each other, where he helps her find her humanity, she helps him maintain his humanity, especially his sanity, and they do form a special bond. And if you watch it, will you call it love? Probably, but they never actually say that they love each other, but they do very much support each other, and they totally need each other. Now C2 is her initials. Her actual name is, next up, Suzaku Kururugi. As I said before, he is Lelouch's childhood friend, because when Lelouch and his sister Nanali were banished from Britannia, they went and lived with the Kururugis. Now, 10 years later, his new goal is to join the Britannian military army and work his way up the hierarchy of the military. Now that way, he can give hope to the Japanese people, as they see him, a Japanese person, work his way up the Britannian military, and they could see that not all is lost, and they can make their lives better in this situation that they find themselves in. So you may respect Suzaku's goal because it's way harder to achieve than Lelouch's. And there's times where Lelouch offers him to join his side, but Suzaku refuses. Now because their goals contradict each other, they are each other's biggest adversaries, and they put each other through hell. A lot of blood and a lot of tears are shed because of each other's actions. And eventually it comes to the point where Suzaku wants to kill Lelouch so bad, and Lelouch wants to kill Suzaku so bad. But because of very twisted fates, and because not everything is black and white, even though they start off as each other's biggest adversaries, they do end up becoming each other's biggest and greatest allies to achieve their goals. Now last but not least, the next best girl of the series, Colin Stotfeld Kozuki. Colin is the reason why I have a hard time deciding who my favorite female character in Code Geass is. Now Colin is half Japanese, half Britannian. Basically, her mother was a maid in her father's estate. They fooled around and Colin popped up. Before the war, Colin lived with her Japanese mother and older brother. And then after the war, Colin's mother pleaded with her father to take in Colin so she wouldn't live a tough, discriminated life as a Japanese. But Colin preferred her Japanese culture life better than the Britannians. So she joined her older brother in rebelling against Britannia. Thus, her fate crossed with Lelouch. So Colin was the girl that Lelouch saw get into the nightmare behind the container. And her brother was the one that was driving the truck. You know, the one that blew up? So yeah, he did. She was the strongest pilot in Lelouch's army, the Black Knights. Her admiration and respect for Zero were so strong, opposite of what she thought of Lelouch. Now she attended the same school as Lelouch, Ashford Academy, so she spent a bit of time with him, and that's when she kind of grew to dislike him because of his narcissistic attitude and his cold outlook on society. So it was clear that it became a mess when she found out Zero's true identity, when Suzaku cornered Zero and revealed that Zero was Lelouch the whole time and Colin was with them. And some people may hate her because she abandoned Lelouch when he needed her the most. Soon after, she steals her conviction and decides yes, she was going to support Zero, not Lelouch, for liberating Japan. So she continued to follow Zero. Then came the time when Lelouch pretty much lost everybody that was close to him. She realized that she was the only one left to be able to support him, and that's when she pretty much affirmed her feelings for Lelouch and Zero as a whole. And she just needed that one last push to be able to accept those feelings, but it didn't last that long because Lelouch had to betray that trust and her feelings. And again, that Shakespearean-esque type of story in this anime, right? Truly a love that could never be. So once again, Colin steals her conviction and feelings and heart and decides that she was going to be the one to kill Lelouch because he became the enemy of the world. But of course, nobody could stop my boy's rebellion, so everybody felt to stop Lelouch. And if you watch the anime to the end, pretty much everybody cheered when Lelouch's fate was what it was, except Colin. She was one of the few that in a moment's notice realized Lelouch's whole plan, and to her, Lelouch was the hero of the world. So Colin went from being a small-time rebel to the strongest warrior in the whole series, and her journey was amazing.
Now, one of the things I really love about Code Geass is that the fact that they have strong female characters. So, you know, like Colin, for example, she is a giant foe and adversary to Suzaku, and they clash many, many times. And throughout their clashes, she doesn't get the upper hand all up until the end in their last and final fight, and she was able to get that upper hand on him and get that W over him. And it was beautiful to see the battle between both of them. It was really, really great.
Another thing I love about this show are the opening songs in the anime. More often than not, anime ending songs are overlooked or overshadowed by the openings, but that's not always the case. Just in this particular series, it is, at least for me. The first opening is called Colors by one of my favorite bands called Flow, and just as its name states, it's a very colorful song. It's one of my top favorite anime songs of all time. I can't forget to mention the last opening that they did for the series called World End. This song, although it's not as good as Colors for me, it is still a really good song. If you like these songs, you may also like the other rock opening songs or the mellow endings in the series. And maybe, just like me, you'll listen to these songs over and over because not only are they good to listen to again and again, but because it takes you back to how you felt watching the anime. Maybe the songs themselves give you good vibes, or maybe because, you know, Jipun wo every day. Finally, there are 4 Code Geass movies. The first 3 are recap episodes of the entire 50 episode anime series. Now, no matter what you hear on the internet, these movies are in a completely alternate universe. Main reason is because in the anime series, there's a character that's important to Lelouch named Shirley. In the anime series, she dies. In the movie, she doesn't. Now they try to rectify the reasoning of her not dying in the movies. All it did was pretty much water down the importance of her character to the story. Now if you're new to Code Geass, I would not recommend starting with the movies, because there is a lot of information that is cut from the movies for you to get a full feel for the characters and the story. Because of course you can't fit the entire information of 50 episodes worth of anime in movies. Speaking of movies, boom, I have the 4th movie, the last movie. And if for some reason you've watched Code Geass and haven't seen the movies, then you can skip the first 3 and jump straight to the 4th, Lelouch of the Resurrection. Because if you weren't satisfied with the fate of Lelouch at the end of the anime, then the 4th movie is pretty much gonna turn your frown upside down. And all the movies were basically made for Code Geass fans, so that's why it's not really a good watch for newcomers to get into Code Geass. And like I've told Eric, the movies are basically all heart but no soul, because you can't really capture the soul of Code Geass in movies, just can't. But the fourth movie does have a happy ending and it ends in good vibes. But again, it's in a complete alternate universe. Also, in 2019, it was announced that we will be having more content related to Code Geass in the next 10 years. So if for some reason the movie doesn't satisfy you, then maybe something in the next few years will. Who knows what's gonna come next.
All right, and with that comes to the conclusion of our very first video for our Feelin Like series. We hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will see you guys in the next video. Out.
What are we wearing?
Some dope ass Looks like next time we're gonna be doing a restricted video because we bring in that cool shit, that samurai shit, that cool beats,